Thanks for coming, everybody. This is great to see everyone here. We're really excited about this program. We started 3 years ago as a reaction, and Midcoast Women has evolved from a series of brainstorming and collective venting sessions into an organization that creates a forum for various women of different ages, backgrounds, and experiences to find and put their voice to their inspirational journeys. And we have 3 such women here this evening. Stepping Up to the Plate, it's a weird title for an event that probably won't involve any stories about home runs or ninth inning heroism, but it seems appropriate because that's what each of these women has done by showing up here tonight, but also by answering a challenge or an opportunity, or maybe even just recognizing that little voice in their head that was nagging, and so what is that all about? We all find moments to step up. When I joined Midcoast Women, I said I would do the website, take some pictures, and then I don't do programs. Yeah. So this is my first at-bat at a program as a program organizer, and this group of women has been great in helping me step up to that challenge, so I just want to thank you a lot. Susanna Liller, though, she's no rookie. She moderated our transformative travel program last fall. 2019 found Susanna ending a 25-plus year career as an organizational development consultant, executive coach, and mediator, and publishing her book, You Are a Heroine, a retelling of the hero's journey, with a message for all women to wake up to their heroinism. Susanna believes every woman has had moments in her life that qualify as heroic. They might not be Wonder Woman-type heroics, but taking a risk, leaving a comfort zone, defying a diagnosis, making the most of an opportunity, each of those opens doors to possibilities for transformation and evolution. Besides finding opportunities like tonight to connect with real-life heroines, Susanna spends her time coaching, speaking, and facilitating workshops and retreats on the heroine's journey. She lives on a small farm in Woolwich with her husband, Robin, and with their assorted beloved animals. Susanna, you're up.
Thank you, Libby, very much. I've never been introduced as Susanna's next at the plate, And I was saying to these heroic women that it's very ironic that I would be here as the moderator for this event because I've never been on an athletic team ever. I told them that I dance English country dancing, which they told me they were very kind, and they said, well, you have to sort of have a team spirit there. You're dancing with somebody. But I am really in awe of, you're going to hear their stories in a minute, and you'll know why. And we're in order of who's speaking first. So Anna Goodale is to my right, Olympic gold medalist and 4-time world rowing champion. Anna has recently returned to Midcoast, Maine. One of the most decorated U.S. rowers in recent history, Anna enjoys an outstanding career with the U.S. national team prior to her coaching career. She was a member of the U.S. Women's 8 that captured gold at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, as well as a member of 4 World Championship teams and 3 World Cup teams in the Women's 8. Anna has recently joined the McGuntacook rowing family as executive director and head coach. Anna transitioned to coaching from McGuntacook Rowing from the Ohio State University. In 4 seasons with Ohio State Buckeyes, Anna contributed to the team's 2nd to 6th place NCAA finishes. She also led the novice team to 4 gold and 2 silver finishes at the Big Ten Championship, where overall the Ohio State University came away with 3 first-place finishes and 1 runner-up. Prior to her time with the Buckeyes, Anna was an assistant coach at Gonzaga University. She helped the Bulldogs to a 17th place team finish, the best in school history, at the 2015 NCAA championships. Gonzaga earned an automatic berth to the national championships after winning the West Coast Conference title. Anna lives in Camden with her 2 sons, Avery and Owen, and her partner, Wesley Walker, and her mom is here tonight, too, so wonderful. So that's Anna. Next to Anna, we have the 2019 U.S. soccer champion, national soccer champion, Christina Kelly. This is national soccer champion. Throughout, and this is how she wrote about her, this is her bio. Throughout my short life, so we're going to just say, can we tell them you're 17? Okay. Throughout my short life, soccer has given me my greatest opportunities. Although school and soccer take up most of my time, I also enjoy riding my motorcycle, snowboarding, eating ice cream, and doing things with my brother such as work on derby cars, snowmobiling, and attempting to fix trucks with him. Soccer has helped me commit to college, and it is allowing me to study biomolecular sciences at Central Connecticut State University starting next fall, before hopefully going to medical school to become a surgeon. And then we have Annie Williams. And so we were joking, we got to have lunch together, and we were joking that we were going from 17 to almost 70. Yeah. Annie comes to us tonight not only with a healing story, but also with a career as an infant mental health clinical nurse specialist. She has 2 master's degrees, one in education, specializing in infant development, and the other in psychiatric nursing. She worked for 14 years as the head teacher for the toddler program at People Place, and before that was a public health nurse. In 1978 to 1980, she and her husband Jack sailed around the world on their schooner, the Appledore, on the schooner, Appledore, the same boat that offers day sails out of Camden in the summer. And we'll start with Anna.
Hi, it's great to be here today. As Susanna said, I've recently come back to the Mid-Coast, and I can't tell you how much I've re-fallen in love with it. I've visited it for the last 20 years that I've been away, and it's really been wonderful to come back into the community. When Libby reached out to me about being here tonight with the title of Stepping Up to the Plate, having a very limited amount of experience in baseball, I translated that into my life and into a moment where I stepped up to the plate, and it changed the trajectory of my life totally. So here we go. Have you ever experienced physical pain great enough that you have to leave your physical body? Yeah, maybe kind of. For me, it shows up in my teeth. Okay. When I'm working so hard at something physically that I'm going through oxygen deprivation, I start to taste this metallic blood in my mouth. Okay, so a little bit of background. Rowing, our race is about 2,000 meters long. So it's a sprint race that takes about 5 to 6 minutes, depending on how fast you are. Okay, and a sprint race is all out, right? You see the sprinters that are going, and their sprints are 10 seconds long. It's quick. 6 minutes of a sprint. So about 30 seconds into a rowing race, it hurts. Okay? And then you have to keep going for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have to figure out how to go beyond, right? How to get into that pain cave, which I have affectionately titled that moment in time, and keep going. I was having a conversation with my mom on the way here about this, and it's not that you have to leave your body. You have to be so physically present, but you have to figure out how to deal with the pain. And for me, when I would taste blood in my mouth, and I knew I was hurting at that point, I had to relinquish myself and let go and go into a state of complete monotony and just go with it. So at the end of the race, when you can finally breathe again, and I've been tasting this metallic blood-like sensation in my mouth for about 6 minutes, I literally have to check and make sure my teeth are still there. Because in that delirium state, anything could have happened. And for me, right after a race, I literally run my tongue across my teeth to make sure I still have all of them. So I had never experienced anything like this until I found rowing. When I was 7 years old, or let's say my childhood, I remember very, very fondly sitting on the couch with my father. we used to watch the Winter Olympics together. And my father and I would sit there and I would be mesmerized by these beautiful, amazing athletes on the ice. I loved figure skating. I would watch them in awe as they made it look so graceful and easy to do these pirouettes and triple lutzes, all the things that I had no clue how to do that, but I also had no idea what it took to get there. All I knew was it was unfathomable. Right? It was so surreal, so far away to think of what it took to be the absolute best in the world. When you think of a pre-Olympian, I was probably the last thing you would picture. I didn't play sports growing up. Well, I rode horses, and I was part of dance classes. I did a lot of African dancing. But I certainly didn't play team sports growing up, but I would never consider myself an athlete. But I had something. I was tall. I was taller than the average woman by the time I was 10 years old, and quickly past the average man. And so I've lived my life at about 6 feet tall, most of it so far. And this, in combination with the fact that I didn't really play sports growing up, was a conundrum for some of the high school coaches when I got to high school. I moved to a new town. I moved to Camden to go to high school. And these coaches came up to me and said, "What sports do you play?" And I said, "I don't play sports." But they quickly encouraged me to come out for the team anyway. So I started playing soccer and I started playing basketball. I played softball for about a year, so I understood the stepping up to the plate. But when I broke my nose or close to it, I kind of gave that up pretty quickly. I ended up riding the pine. I sat on the bench for almost all of my high school career as an athlete. And I, in addition to probably everybody around me, would not have pegged me to go very much farther than riding the pine as I left high school. And then I went to college. And in college, my goal was to keep it simple. I wanted to really kind of streamline my vision because I had done a lot when I was in high school and I got very busy. My mind was constantly running. I wanted to simplify. So when I got to college, that first day or first couple days on campus, I had a moment. Or maybe it was a sequence of moments, as my mom and I were reminiscing, and she remembers a slightly different story to the one that I'm about to tell you. But this moment changed the trajectory of my life. It was a beautiful blue sky day in August in Syracuse, New York. I had just been dropped off by my mother and my brother to go to college. So I was full of nerves and anticipation and insecurities and what the heck am I doing here? The first thing I had to do on the first day of class was go to the new student orientation. And Syracuse University is about 50,000 students large, so it's not a small place. I, in addition to about 9,000 probably other new students at the school, were headed towards the Dome, which is the stadium, the indoor stadium. And it seats about 100,000. So everything went from Camden made to just like big. I was walking with my roommate, and this woman, this total stranger, came up to me and challenged me, essentially, to try something new. She said, "You look like a rower." And I kind of did a double take and said, "Me?" And she proceeded to give me some information. I probably looked like a complete deer in headlights because I was so overwhelmed with everything that was happening. But I took the piece of paper and I said, "Uh-huh," and then proceeded on my way into the stadium. I ended up tacking that piece of paper up on my bulletin board, and it stayed there all year round, my whole first year in college. It really comes down to moments, right? That moment for me changed everything. It didn't happen right away. My life didn't look amazingly different as soon as she gave me that piece of paper, but it certainly changed and shaped my future. 100% gave me structure as I moved forward. So we have a lot of decisions in life. Some of them are easy to make. Some of them are hard. Some of them are big and can decide on a big path, which college do I go to? Some of them are small and don't amount to anything. My decision to start rowing and say, okay, I'll try that, didn't seem very big at the time, but it ended up giving me something amazing. Playing sports in high school didn't necessarily give me the skills to play Division I basketball. Far from it. But what it did give me was the courage to stand up on my own 2 feet and walk into this huge stadium with a bunch of people I didn't know, and in that process say yes to an opportunity. In my life, I've learned that success is so much about showing up. Showing up when you don't know what's going to happen. Showing up when you don't feel like it, when you're tired. Showing up to opportunities that come out your way and with an okay, sure, I'll give it a shot, let's see. And then continuing to show up day after day, especially when it gets hard, when it gets challenging, when you don't know that you can do it, and when you know that you're not going to be your best. Showing up at those moments certainly is not easy. One thing I've learned is that it's not about the thing. It's not about the Olympics when I tell a story. It's about how I got there. And for me, it's the courage to show up. Show up for yourself and show up for an opportunity. It takes a lot of little steps to go a great distance. And the first one, you got to show up for. So another thing I've learned, I guess, is that we are so quick to judge, right? We judge ourselves constantly and we judge other people constantly. When we watch other people accomplish great things, we can so quickly say they have something I don't, or they can do something I can't. And that's not necessarily true. When I was there watching the Olympics as a 7-year-old in awe at these women who seemingly had magic, they were in these beautiful sequins dresses and were just magical out there to me. I thought that they had something it didn't occur to me that I could do what they did. But I'll tell you something, it's not magic. I wish I was magic, but magic did not get me an Olympic gold medal. What got me an Olympic gold medal is showing up. Saying yes and showing up. I found something I was built for. In mind and body, it takes both of those. And I feel very, very fortunate that I found that. But it was a challenge every day to show up and work hard. Working hard is a big part of it. Sometimes I worked so hard, I felt like I lost my teeth. Actually, I was pretty sure that I lost my teeth at points. But I kept going and kept moving forward towards my goal. Now, goals can be really big, right? They can seem really, really far away. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got as a rower was take it one step at a time. Because the only way you're going to get to the end line is by taking baby steps. One step at a time, one moment at a time. I've lived those big goals. And it's full of these little moments of showing up day after day is how you get there. So by confronting our fears, by taking chances and challenging a belief we have in ourselves that may not be true or that we may not like, we can change our own trajectory. I went from being a doubtful and overweight kid to being part of a 0.0000045% of the population, an Olympic gold medalist. And all that happened because I said, okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Mine is not nearly as inspirational. So I'm Christina Kelly. If you've read the sports section in the newspaper anytime since September, you've probably seen my name. I just finished my final soccer season at Camden Hills, and I've made sure to leave my mark. I set the all-time scoring record. I'm one of only 2 girls in the country to be named All-American 3-time, and I was National Player of the Year, like Susanna said. And to top it off, I now get to go play at my favorite college next fall. And while that may sound exciting and impressive to some, that's not what I think about when I'm asked about my greatest accomplishments as a player. If anyone were to ask me why I love soccer, it's because it's the one place where I can forget everything. I don't have to think about school or work or any relationship problems. Since I started when I was 6, playing has always come easily, and since I loved it so much, I've been pushing myself to be my best ever since. That's how I became one of the best in the state. However, what sets me apart now has always been what's held me back in the past, my confidence. I'm not sure about any of you, but I've been struggling with my confidence for as long as I can remember, and it wasn't until one very special game that everything seemed to change. And don't get me wrong, when I say everything seemed to change, it was just my confidence in soccer, not in all aspects of my life. Last year when I was a junior, it was my 3rd season on varsity, and I was finally starting to become comfortable on the team. I was forming new relationships with my teammates, and overall it was a great season. We won our 3rd straight championship in a row. I was voted best player in the main, and I made some great new friends. Of course, that was all great, but there was one game in that season that will be my favorite high school game ever. For a long time, I've been working on becoming more confident on the field, but there was a game against Brunswick that just flipped the switch. Every game, I get nervous. Like, so nervous, I almost pee my pants. That game was no different. In fact, it was probably worse. Knowing we were about to play the second best team in our division was always nerve-wracking, and I knew that everybody was going to be there because I was going into it with 99 goals. I knew that this was an especially big accomplishment for me because nobody at Camden or in Class A in Maine had ever scored over 100 goals. So the whole day during school I was nervous. We have 80-minute class periods, and I probably got up to pee 8 to 10 times per period. The closer it got to game time, the more I was leaving my seat. I couldn't focus on anything, so much so that I remember during my English class when I was supposed to be writing an essay, I just wrote down all of the different ways I could think of to score. Even though I didn't get my essay done, my teacher saw that I was writing so much and so quickly, she thought I was doing really well on the assignment. The day seemed like it was taking forever. Although I love playing, I just hate not knowing what's going to happen, and I'm always stressed about not doing my best or stepping up when my team really needs me. That day, I knew I'd need to be my best for the team and for myself. That seemed to double the pressure. I was a mess. When the end of 4th period arrived, I wasn't sure how to feel. I couldn't decide if I was excited to maybe be able to get that goal, or if I was just so anxious that I didn't even want to play. When I got to the locker room, I quickly put my jersey on and went to the mirror to put up my hair. I had straightened it that morning because I think that if it's straight, I play better. I'm still unsure about that. Then I walked out onto the field as I continued to go over the list in my head of all the ways I could score to make sure I did it. I pulled out my cleats. They were teal Nikes with black stripes. I just looked up a picture of them to explain them, and I kind of want another pair. But maybe not after I tell you what happened to them. I laced them up and started the warm-up routine. I'd tell you about it, but this was the only part of the day that went quickly. I'm sure the gist would be that it was fun. That we danced, we laughed, and then I had to go get a few balls that I kicked over the fence because that was probably my greatest skill. And I probably stopped to pee on the way back to the field. When the whistle blew, I was standing on the corner of the half-field line and the sideline on the left side. I was so excited and determined that I took off. Everywhere I went, I was sprinting. If there was a ball near me, I was going to get it. As I played, I didn't think about how nervous I was or how badly I wanted to score. I just focused on playing my hardest, and that took all of my attention. It was perfect. I was everywhere. Although I shouldn't have been, I was basically playing all 3 positions, forward, midfield, and defense. But that's okay, because all of my teammates loved it when I did that, because that just meant they had to run less. The team played really well. Many times I was set up perfectly in front of the goal, because I either got a through ball from our center midfield Cassie, or our striker Eliza did a give and go with me, and that always got us behind the other team's back line. Whatever the scenario was, I had a ton of one-on-one chances with the goalie. Can you guess what happened? I missed. All of them. Every single one for 60 minutes. Luckily for me, there are 80 minutes in the game. Want to know what happened next? I took another shot. I was sprinting down the left side of the field, and I saw my chance. I planted my right foot, and as hard as I could, I kicked the ball with my left. Now, this would seem like the perfect time for me to say, I scored. I finally got my 100th goal. And I wish it had. But unfortunately, my foot went through my shoe, and the ball just kind of went out of bounds. That's why I'm not sure I should get another pair of those cleats. And the worst part was that I was standing there with my shoe up around my ankle, and I couldn't even get off the field because the ball was still in play. I was so embarrassed. I had dirt marks all up my back, and I could barely get up. So once I did, I just stood there next to my coach on the sideline, hoping the ball would go out of bounds. But luckily, before too long, it did, and I got a new pair of cleats. That took some time, though. Nobody had the same size cleats as me on the bench. If they did, they were on the field, and I sure couldn't take their cleats. But before too long, there was a girl who I had never talked to before who came running onto the field. She was on the JV team and later joined me on varsity my senior year. Her name was Ivy. She wasn't a standout player, but she will always stand out to me because even though I would go on to score in other games, she knew how important it was for me to do it during that game, and she gave up her cleats in all of her warm-up time and even the beginning of her game to let me score my 100th goal. Also, they were the perfect size and didn't break, so I think I should get a pair of those. Also, did I mention that the previous year my cleats broke the day before states? So I should have seen it coming and had a spare pair in my bag, but I'm never really all that prepared, so I was just lucky I had all the parts to my uniform. Anyways, I got the cleats on and back in the game. I had 15 minutes left to score. I was so annoyed that I kept missing that I just tried to forget about scoring, but that didn't work because it wasn't like the game was 0-0. It was 6-0. 6-0 and I didn't have a single goal. I think that was the only game in my entire high school career that happened. It was so frustrating, but I knew I could do it because that's what my mom always told me. So back in the game I went, I had a really cool run. At least it felt really cool to me. I was all alone at midfield, and one of our defenders cleared it from the defensive third, and of course one of the Brunswick defenders headed it out. But it didn't go far enough. I jumped up, headed it back, ran, and headed it again, and that's all it took. It went over her head, and I just sprinted as fast as I could, trying to get close enough to the goal, but not too close because I was far too familiar with that. I took 3 steps into the 18 and then just passed the ball into the back of the net like I had been practicing and had tried to do the rest of the game. Finally, I got the one. I hugged all the other players on the field and told them how well they were playing because I knew my success wasn't just me. Everything they work for helps me. They pushed me to be a better player and always passed me the ball so I could do my thing. Then I ran to the bench to give my coach a hug because she had always believed in me. And when I got there, that's when I flipped the switch. The entire team were wearing these glasses. Imagine turning around and seeing 25 girls staring at you in these. It may seem so simple for you, but that's when I realized how much they cared. I'd always been the star of my team, so I never realized that my teammates actually cared about me, not just how good I was. At the end of the game, we took a bunch of pictures, and all of the players and parents congratulated me. That was the game when I finally got my confidence. Seeing how happy everyone was, even though I'd missed probably 20 shots, made me realize that they don't care about my mistakes. They wanted me on their team for everything I have to offer, not just because I can score. From that point forward, I never questioned whether people really wanted me on their team or if my teammates just pretended to like me because I was good. A team is made up of a collection of different people with very different skills and personalities, and they're all there for a reason. Just like that team, and just like the team you see here today, we all deserve a chance to say yes to opportunities, whether they may be sharing a story or accepting a spot in a new team. The key is to experience them with confidence because nothing's enjoyable if you're nervous the whole time. Thank you.
Ooh, that brings tears to my eyes. My stepping up to the plate moment, which I've identified because I've looked back on the past 10 years of living with Parkinson's disease, organizing my story for this talk. My stepping up to the plate moment was when my neurologist spoke the diagnostic words, "You have Parkinson's disease." That was in 2010. I remember that moment when he repeated those words more than once, and maybe even 3 times, because I showed no reaction. Maybe because I was just dissociating or falling into complete denial of my existence in that small room where I touched my finger to my nose and then to his moving finger, and held at eye level in front of me, and performed various other neurological activities to lead him to his diagnosis. Like signing my name on the outside of my file folder, an activity he told me that I would repeat on subsequent appointments to mark my demise. I like to imagine that moment with me speaking out loud, and maybe I did. My words, which I've lived by since that day. I am no different now than I was before you used those words. Those words of mine took me to the plate and have been a guide for me over the course of my healing journey. I had decided, key operational word there, I had decided that that label given to me was just words and nothing more. I could choose to give them power or not. I believe that conscious decision took me out of the dissociation and denial categories and led me to my choice to heal. A home run mantra, or one of them, as I've used many. Time to assemble a healing team. My focus was to maintain my mobility and my structural integrity. My sister-in-law has Parkinson's and experiences what is known as freezing and dystonia. I wanted to avoid those symptoms and stay limber and aligned. My initial team included chiropractic care for my skeletal system, Jinshin Jitsu for my meridian system, massage for my muscular system, yoga to keep all systems working together, and 3 to 5 miles of walking every day. Well, almost every day. All these interventions are out-of-pocket expenses, except for some reimbursement from insurance for chiropractic care, which I had to submit. I'm so grateful that I can afford these expenses and others over the course of my journey. Another important intervention was dietary. Principles of functional medicine guided me to specific diets. I've been gluten-free, I've been paleo, anti-inflammatory, always organic, and much of the food I eat is homegrown. I also added a wide variety of brain-supportive supplements. I've read volumes on supports for dopamine production, learning new information, and affirming my knowledge gained as a clinical nurse specialist and teacher of infant brain development. And I've trusted my intuition as I made decisions about various interventions. I also had the support of a naturopath who helped me with chelation to get the lead out and clean up my system. And last year I had the last of the amalgam removed from my mouth. Oh, and I use high-quality stainless steel cookware, and we tested for radon and had our well water tested and installed a new purification system, and my Lyme test was negative. This review's been a bit overwhelming, actually, to consider, and because I had become my own full-time job. It was time to retire from infant mental health work, time to recognize that working with babies and their parents who were struggling was not helping my healing, and was, more to the point, creating unhealthy stress in my life. So in 2013, Jack, my husband, and I left for Europe with backpacks and hiking boots and walking sticks and 2 changes of clothes and a very loose itinerary. We walked 2 to 8 hours every day for 7 months, wandering around Europe, being Medicare hippies. It was February. We were back home. The gardens awaited me. Spring and summer lay ahead, and more healing to be done as my tremor was leading me to consider starting medications. I had another medical consult with a famous neurologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, where my brother's a melanoma surgeon. My brother had said repeatedly that he didn't think I had Parkinson's and wanted me to see his colleague. So that seemed the right thing to do. Another mantra of mine is if it isn't a clear yes, it's a no. This was a clear yes, no hesitation. As were my decisions to learn Tai Chi, to add acupuncture to my team, and eventually medication. As needed, taking about half what was recommended by the neurologist. When the neurologist from Memorial asked me why I was not taking the full dose of meds, I explained that my symptoms inform me of how I'm doing. So I take the meds only as I need them for excessive tremor, which usually happens when I'm excited or stressed, as in standing here talking to you tonight, or when I'm headed out on the ice to play ice hockey. By the way, that doctor agreed with the others about the Parkinson's, but he also added an aspect of overly sensitive autonomic nervous system. I'd set a goal of 10 years to be med-free, and when I was first diagnosed and had the second opinion consult in Boston confirming the same diagnosis, I made it to about 8 years med-free and had some work to do not to judge myself for this change in plan. Which brings me to the psychological approach to imbalances in health, sometimes not so easy to access or examine. I ask myself, what is the shaky part of me? My left side, my female side, is most affected with the shakes, so I ask myself, what is the shaky female part of me? Oh, geez, now we're getting somewhere. I grew up with 3 older brothers. My position as the youngest and the only female, though sometimes powerful, never felt that way, which brings us back to the issue of confidence as women, with a voice and an important place in community and society. I've explored how my early life created the foundation for the life I've lived, the career I chose, the paths I've walked, the beliefs I hold sacred, all fertile soil for healing. Much of that psychological healing has happened with the support of close women friends, my healing team, and the addition to my team of a highly skilled homeopath whom I saw monthly, sometimes more, via FaceTime as she lived in California. At our first appointment, she asked me how I would know, or how we would know, that I was done with homeopathic care. Without hesitation, I told her, when I'm back on the ice again. That was about 4 years ago, around the same time I started Tai Chi. Which brings me to my ice skating and hockey story. This story started about 20 years ago. At age 50, I joined the women at Midcoast Recreation Center and started playing ice hockey. What a blast of fun. Camaraderie. I've got a bunch of you are here, and thank you for being here. Camaraderie, non-competitive amongst the team, fantastic exercise, lots of laughs, and even some tears, and a whole lot of great stories to share. We had practices early in the morning before we went to work. We played in tournaments, traveling to New Hampshire for the weekend, and bonded as a group that remains extra special in my life today. 10 years of that bliss before my visit to the neurologist. The presenting symptom that put the halt to my ice hockey fun was the inability to move my left leg out to the side, a movement that creates the propelling motion when skating. A real bummer. I did some intensive physical therapy, utilizing exaggerated movements to try to correct the problem, but ultimately I was done with the ice. Or so I thought, and thoughts can create reality. Then on New Year's Eve, 2018, our son and his friends rented skates and were headed out to Whitetail Pond in West Rockport, just around the corner from where we live. The ice was perfect, no snow, no bumps, and I decided not to leave myself out of the fun. Definitely another stepping up to the plate. My balance was much improved from 3 years of Tai Chi. I'd started taking the medication dopamine to steady my tremor, and I was motivated by family fun on a beautiful sunny winter day. When I stopped skating, I'd given away all my equipment, except my skates. Jack found an old helmet for me to wear and got my skates sharpened, and off we went. What a feeling. I'm laughing and crying and laughing and shouting out loud, "I'm skating, I'm skating." It had been 8 years, and I'm still skating today. Woo-hoo. But there's a backstory to the accomplishment of getting back on the ice. Another stepping up, so to speak. His name is Joe Dispenza. He's a well-known author and healer who leads conferences teaching about the principles of quantum physics and how our thoughts create our reality. I was trying to feel a clear yes decision to go to Kripalu with a bunch of friends, but could not avoid it when 3 times the doors opened to send me there. First, my massage therapist made the initial suggestion. Then a friend encouraged me to saying she would drive. Then another friend offered me to be my roommate. Okay, I give up. I'll go. I learned how to meditate and to create thoughts that reflected my desired life outcomes. My visualization was exactly what I experienced on the ice that beautiful day in December. I'd seen myself skating and laughing and crying with joy on a daily basis during many long, intense meditation sessions. Though I've not meditated nor visualized improvements in my handwriting or my fine motor coordination on my left side, these changes have happened as well. I can slip my left hand into my pocket easily, wrap an elastic around a ponytail, use my sewing machine, sprinkle carrot seeds in a row, and even have days when I take only 1 pill and feel my neurology as stronger and healthier. What I do meditate on and visualize daily are, I have a strong and healthy body. My neurology is healthy and robust. I have a curious mind. I am a social being. I have the ability to communicate. I believe in the power of positive thought. What I've learned from this journey, I can contribute to healing myself. I trust my intuition and decision making. I am not alone. I have my team. I'm doing just fine. My challenges? What's next? What am I meant to do now? How do I present myself as the inspiration some find me to be? Patience. Thank you for listening to and witnessing my story. I hope that you have learned that the journey is not short. The work is not simple. The rewards, unbelievable, yet oh so real. Namaste.